one of the propositions that a number of the lawyers in my book talk about is how increasingly democratic rights and the rule of law are not compatible with capitalism or imperialism. And we saw that happen right after 9/11. The first thing they did was pass the 340-page Patriot Act, which allowed for spying on everybody. You can't do a keystroke on your computer or make a call on your cell phone or even go to the doctor without the government knowing exactly what you're doing. I was at the cardiologist with my wife last week, and we drove home through the Battery Park Tunnel. And there's a face recognition gadget when you go through the tunnel. So they knew who she was, they knew what cardiologist she went to, and they knew what her EKG was even before we got home. That's the kind of society we live in. So Michael and I thought, this is not good. And then they passed the National Defense Authorization Act. And that act allows for the government to pick up and detain, kidnap, and detain forever even American citizens. So Chris Hedges and Noam Chomsky brought a lawsuit in Lower Manhattan in federal court 2 years ago, and they won the lawsuit. Judge Catherine Forrest, a good constitutional upholder, decided in their favor. The government appealed that afternoon. So Chris and Noam went down to D.C., and they met with Nancy Pelosi, or their lawyers met with Nancy Pelosi, and they said, Pelosi, if you take the provision out of this law that you've passed that allows the indefinite kidnapping of American citizens, we'll drop the appeal. And Pelosi said no. And Chris Hedges said, you know why? Because they know what's coming. So it was draconian laws like that that got Michael and I thinking, and that's why we started the radio show, and out of that came this book, Lawyers for the Left.
So give us your image, your sense of where the years since 9/11, culminating in the Trump administration, where are they putting us in this struggle, as you put it, between capitalism and imperialism on the one hand and democratic civil liberties and rights on the other?
Well, Jimmy Carter, who should know, said we're no longer living in a democracy, or we're living in an oligarchy. 6 years ago, Judge Roberts, John Roberts, the guy who was only supposed to call balls and strikes, remember? Roberts wrote the majority opinion in a case which allowed corporations, gave them personhood, and allowed corporations to give as much money as they wanted to various political candidates. A corporation's not a person. I'll believe a corporation's a person the day it gets a colonoscopy.
Right.
But that's the fiction. So we really have rule of capital. And we've got restrictions on voting rights. You've been talking about that. And we only have two parties. We've got Tweedledum and Tweedledee. We have two capitalist parties. We don't have our own party. And so they pretty much have us where they want us. They're controlling the political system, and we're being victimized by it. And it's the attorneys that I write about are ones that had fought and are continuing to fight against that.